Hey everybody, welcome back to Alfonso Speaks. Welcome back to more Darrell Brooks trials. I get some stuff out of the way here. We are about to hit part two of Darrell Brooks' closing arguments. Start with part one if you haven't seen that one already. I'll try to remember to add the card to this so I can link it. I never remember, but I will try my best. Let's see, we're about at the 30-second mark, 30-second mark. Okay, yeah, I'll try to card that here. Forgive me if I don't. If I don't card the video, yell at me in the comment section so you can make sure that I do it. Okay, so let's get to part two of the closing arguments. As usual, make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn that bell on for notifications. Also, follow me on social media, Alfonso McCree Jr. on Instagram, Alfonso Speaks on TikTok. Let's make sure we are on Do Not Disturb so we are not disturbed. And let's get it, y'all. Let's get it. Part two. So, in part one, remember he was talking about forgiveness and feeling powerless and all this ridiculous stuff that he was saying. That really, I had a big issue with the things he was saying because they were, to me, very tone deaf. By the way, go Pack, go. Um, when the Packers win, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because when the Packers win, I'm happy. But that also means Darrell's happy. And that's not good. That's not a good thing. All right, let's get to it. Part two.
DA makes references to blocks of no one being injured, but then says it's intentional. You add that up with the supposed rage, the supposed intent to harm and kill. And it doesn't kick in until well within blocks. And maybe it's just me, but I would think if I was characterizing someone with this intent to kill and this rage and this anger, then why weren't people immediately harmed? Why would someone with intent to kill and rage try to alert people of their presence, repeatedly honk their horn? You heard a detective, if you recall, testify that the vehicle that he observed was not only honking his horn, but was not speeding. So where does this rage kick in? Where does this insatiable intent to kill kick in?
Probably when you hit the first person and then you keep going. I would think that's where it kicks in. That's just me. I mean, he's asking us like we're supposed to know.
They speak as someone who's known someone for years.
I like that he says that. Like, oh, y'all don't know me. Y'all speak as if y'all have known me for years. Well, we actually do have breadcrumbs for who you've been for years via your criminal record. Like, we know that you're not a good person because of your extensive criminal record. Like, yeah, so in a way, we do know who you are. We know who you are from your music videos, from the way that you've treated people in your life, from your refusal to take care of your children. Um, we know. We have a pretty good idea of who you are, the type of person that you are.
Which brings me back to the vehicle. What if the vehicle couldn't stop because of the malfunction?
Why are you asking us? Again, why is he asking us questions? You don't really see that in a closing argument. In a closing argument, you're supposed to give us the facts. This is why you should make this decision because this, I'm telling you, this is why. Why are you asking us any questions? You know, you had your opportunity to ask questions of witnesses. You forfeited that right. And then now you want to ask the jury questions? What if?
Fact, not evidence.
What if the driver of the vehicle was unable to stop the vehicle? Because of that fact, what if the driver may have panicked? Does that make the driver a crazed, or not crazed, a rage? Does that make the driver in a rage and intent on killing people? DA played a exhibit 17. You don't see anyone struck in that vehicle. On that exhibit, you don't see anyone struck.
Yeah, see that face that he's making right now? That's the face that I'm making. Like, okay. And like you're pointing to one video. Like, okay, there's nobody gets run over in the videos of you leaving your mother's house. Nobody gets run over in the videos of you fighting Erica and her friends. So there's plenty other exhibits where you are running over people. And so that's a mute point. That doesn't even make sense.
Was someone who had this intent to kill, this rage, as she says. If that was their intent, wouldn't they have taken the opportunity to hit as many people as they could?
Yes, and that's what you did.
Target people, mow down people.
Yes, that's what you did. That's what he did. Yes, that's somebody who, if they're in a rage, that's what they would have done. What you did.
Reference was made to this vehicle, the damage. Says this was all caused by bodies, but then later turns around and says hits barricades and other objects. You've heard testimony about hearing loud crashes and things of that nature, but the DA wants you to believe that this all came from people. Evidence doesn't support that. So I go back to trying to wrap my head around everything that's happened in the last year.
Oh Lord, here we go. Going back to Darrell and his feelings. You know, for a minute there, he was just bringing up the facts of the case, even though eh, they were distorted facts, right? They weren't necessarily accurate to what the facts actually told, like the story of the facts actually tell. However, he was sticking to the facts at least. Um, Now we're back to story time with Darrell, and we're back to Darrell's therapy session with the jury, which no one asked for, by the way.
Praying for those families, praying for the people that tragically lost their life, because that should not be lost either. The fact that there was lives lost, and all the emphasis has been put on the alleged defendant.
Mm. Oh, here comes the
People
part.
have been disregarded.
Here comes the part, man.
Makes me wonder, does the DA even care about those people?
Ooh, look at their faces. Look at their faces. Look at Attorney Hopper. She's like, you're pushing it. You're really effing pushing it right now. And Zach's just, you could tell a real man by his composure. Zach is just chilling. Like he's letting him say whatever he's gonna say, but he's just chilling. He's not letting it really get to him too much because he knows it's a bunch of bull. But Attorney Hopper. So I wanted to change that freeze frame. It wasn't very good for her. Um Attorney Hopper, like she's the lead on this thing. Yeah, the thing she spent a lot of time with these families, a lot of times with these victims. Um, so him saying stuff like that, like she could just ignore it as him just running his mouth and just saying anything, but there does come a time where like, hey man, you're taking it too far.
There's been prayers going up every day. It's been suffering on both sides. It's been threats, hate mail. Because of the narratives that's been put out there. The misconceptions that have been put out there. The lies that have been put out there. Lies that have caused my children not to be able to go to school.
Therapy session with
To be
Darrell.
bullied. For my mother to have to leave her home and stay at a hotel because she's afraid for her safety. Because she gets hate mail shoved through her mailbox.
He'll never acknowledge that all of this is the result of his actions and the things that he has done to put his family in this position. And that's the part that really stresses me out. Like you're complaining about the results of your actions while ignoring the fact that your actions cause these results. And he does this all the time. And it's an effort to make people feel bad for him. But bro, nobody feels bad for you because you're the reason that this has happened. If you just live right, none of this is a problem. Your kids are not getting bullied. Your mother's not leaving her home. Her address isn't plastered all over the internet. Like, how scary is that? Your son does something stupid. His ID has your address on it, and now people have access to your location. They know where you live. And at any time, somebody could pull up and say, you know what? An eye for an eye. That's scary. And it's all because of this guy right here. He caused this. Nobody else did this but him.
My nieces and nephews to fear for their safety. And what's been equally hard is not only having to answer questions from my daughter who was 7 at the time, my baby girl who was 7 at the time, is now 8. Attempting to answer her questions that she's asking and still continue to shield her from what she sees, what she hears. Having a newborn son that I haven't even been able to meet.
Before he starts all this crying BS, didn't I read somewhere that wasn't even his son, that was like a grandchild? Like, didn't his son have a son? Um, or was that his actual child? I could have sworn I read somewhere that it wasn't his; it was his son's child. And in typical Darrell Brooks fashion, he takes credit for something that's not his, but never takes credit for anything that he has done. But yeah, let me know, guys, because I don't know if I'm remembering correctly or not. So, um, yeah, let me know.
Haven't been able to hold, touch, kiss. Having to navigate everything that comes with this whole situation. While still attempting to wrap my head around it. I can't honestly say how many times I've sat in my cell, especially during lights out, alone, where it's just you. And just been praying and asking myself, how could this happen? Not just for the people, but for everybody involved, the community too. How could this happen? How?
Why are you asking us? You did it. Now, granted, I kind of understand what he's saying here because it's more so like, bro, how could I do something so stupid? I remember growing up and just making different mistakes that would land me on punishment or something, where I'd be grounded for like 2 weeks or whatever, and just asking myself the whole time, how could I do something so dumb? Like, how could this happen? And um, that accountability as I was growing up is the reason why I have yet to do anything that has landed me in any type of legal trouble. Because, we're talking about accountability being taught to a child as they're growing up. That clearly was not Darrell's reality. And we know that based off of his behavior, but also based off of the behavior of Don Woods in the aftermath of this whole thing and during the trial. It's just continually uh what's the word I'm looking for? Um she's just encouraging the behavior, enabling him. That's what I'm looking for. She's just an enabler for zero accountability, and as a result now all these lives are lost and he's spending the rest of his life in prison. Like, that is the danger of lack of accountability. You have to have accountability with your children when they're growing up. You cannot enable them to just do whatever. There has to be discipline. You have to teach them about consequences. You have to teach them about how their behavior affects other people. Everything. And I've seen people like Darrell in my own life. I've had to cut them off because, like, I can look at them and say, he has what it takes to be a serial killer one day. And it's usually wrapped up in a lot of those same qualities. It's the lack of accountability. It's an enabling parent. It is uh, them not being taught that they can't have whatever they want. And then when they don't get what they want, it's always a temper tantrum or it's always a big explosion or something like that. And then just the way that they talk about people, and especially the way they talk about women, is always a telltale sign. That's always a telltale sign for me. If somebody has extreme misogynistic beliefs wrapped up with all the other things that I've talked about, that is a perfect recipe for a serial killer one day. And I know Darrell killed all of his victims at once, but technically he has enough kills now to be considered a serial killer. I believe it's like two or more. But I do think that they have to have occurred at separate times. We're going down the rabbit hole of a different subject now, but yeah, like that's concerning to me when I see somebody who's not forced to take any type of accountability. It's very concerning to me because to me it shows they're going to grow up and believe that they have the right to take whatever they want, whether that's a life, somebody's body, somebody's property, doesn't matter. They're going to turn out just like this, which is a travesty, and it's a danger to society.
The hardest questions you can ask is those that don't have an answer. No matter how much thinking you do, no matter how much you try to look at it from different perspectives and listen to other outside perspectives and listen to people that you trust and that you love, still coming up with nothing. But to think for 1 second, one question I never had to ask was if this was intentional. That's something that I never asked once. Because I know it wasn't. As a matter of fact, it never even crossed my mind to even attempt to ask myself that because I know it wasn't. And I know sometimes during this trial probably doesn't show. May be hard to believe. But trust me when I say no one outside of the families that had to go through this, no one's heart is more in pieces than mine.
I believe that. I just don't think he's being transparent about why his heart is in pieces. Not in pieces over the victims, not in pieces over the people that he hurts, in pieces because of the reality that he's about to face. For the rest of his existence, he will be locked inside a cell. That is a humbling and grim reality to face, that your actions have resulted in you being in a cell for the rest of your life. You will never have freedom again. I can't, like, I've really, with every decision that I make, I try to think of the long term effects of it. Now, of course, like, everybody's still going to make mistakes. Like, who doesn't get caught speeding every once in a while, stuff like that. But something like this, I think about everything. I think about my family. I think about my career. I think about the simple fact that I love sports. I can't imagine not being able to watch sports for the rest of my life because I'm in prison with no TV. I can't imagine that. I just can't imagine that. I can't imagine not being able to go to a game, not being able to have a beer, not being able to, uh, have a vacation with friends, travel the world, go to a resort. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine having to give all of that up because I made a silly decision. And he's obviously he's not going to be transparent about this, but that is a very legitimate thing to be heartbroken about. The only issue, though, is that you'd like to see him this heartbroken about the people that he actually affected, but he doesn't have that capability. It's not in him. He doesn't know how to have empathy and care and love and understanding for other people. He only has it for himself. And again, Don Woods, if you ever see this video, I blame you. It's your fault. It's your fault. You raised him this way. And I don't want to hear anything about, oh, his father wasn't in his life. You chose his father. You laid down with that man. And you knew who he was. I don't want to hear that you didn't know what kind of man that he was, and that you knew what Darrell Brooks Sr. was all about. You laid down with that man. You had a child. And then, when faced with the reality that you have this child, instead of giving him accountability as he grew up, you coddled him. You coddled him, you bailed him out of everything. You never allowed him to be punished for anything. And so he grew up and did not ever become a man. He never became a man. He never became accountable. He never became understanding. He never developed empathy. He developed narcissism and a really bad case of it. And as a result, everything was always everybody else's fault. Even this incident, he was trying to connect to Erica. He wanted Erica to be punished for this crime. Because, oh, if it wasn't for that woman, I never even would have been out here. If it wasn't for you, she never would have been out there. Can we acknowledge that? Can we acknowledge that you and your mother brought her to Wisconsin? You kept physically assaulting her, and so she ended up at a women's shelter out in Waukesha? We're never going to acknowledge any of this stuff, are we? It's just, oh, me. I'm the victim. I'm sad. Look at everything I had to go through for this past year. Let's talk about the families of the victims that you killed that have had to go through, at this time, nearly a year of grief, depression, anger, all because of things that you call, all they did was go to a Christmas parade. Think about that. How many of you guys have been to just these different events, and do you really expect for something like this to happen? How often does something like this happen? Probably never, because you're still here, right? Like, if I take my son downtown and to downtown DC to see a Wizards game or something, I'm not expecting us to get run over by a SUV while we're down there waiting to get into the building, or while we're leaving celebrating a Wizards victory, or more than likely a Wizards loss. I'm not expecting a SUV to come barreling down because I'm at a happy and joyous event with my kid, with my family. What the hell, man? I mean, seriously. It's just it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I don't really want to hear him go on for another 4 minutes complaining about his life and the things that he's caused. So I'm going to end it right there. But I want to thank you guys again for watching Alfonso Speaks. We are fully back, man. We are back and we are better than ever. That long break is over. We are back to uploading consistently and in heavy volume. So make sure you guys have that bell turned on because I'm dropping very often. And if you want to watch videos as soon as I upload them, make sure you get a channel membership because I schedule my videos out, but I upload them in bulk, like in bunches. So there's a lot of videos out currently. Even if you're watching this later, I'm still going to be uploading in the same way as we go forward. So if you want to see these videos as soon as I have them uploaded and you don't feel like waiting, get yourself a channel membership, and you'll have access to these videos as soon as they drop. So just keep that in mind. But you guys stay safe, stay blessed, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.